Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to Red Alert Radio. Today is September 25th, 2011. Today was this last week was a pretty rough week for me. I got sick I'd say about Tuesday. From Tuesday until today, I've spent probably 80% of the time in bed. I still probably sound a little rough, but we're going to get through this tonight. I've got a guy who's going to be calling in here in the next couple minutes. His name is Chad Casano. He's out of New York, and he specializes in demonology, and he's also a preacher. And this is going to be the second part of the Grand Deception. Last week we had another guy on from Brooklyn. His name was Wade. He looked at the alternative side of where we were and where we were going, and got into the deception of what's really going on around us. Looks like I have a caller calling in. That might be Chad now. I'm going to bring him on. Yeah, caller?
Yeah, this is Chad. Brett, how you doing?
Oh, I'm doing good. I was going to give him a little bit of the news, but seeing that you was calling in a little bit early, so I figure I'd go ahead and bring you on.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. I tell you what, I don't mind waiting for the news. I always enjoy news, so why don't you do that, and I'll hang out here for a few minutes while you get through that.
All right. I see where the Greek default over in Europe could destroy the faith in Europe. Merkel was talking about it over in Germany. And allowing Greece to default its debts would destroy investor confidence over there in the Eurozone. And that might spark a contagion like that experienced after the bankruptcy of Lehman Brothers in 2008. I found this on Reuters. Now, I'm expecting a bumpy road this week for the markets. So those of you that are in the markets, hold on to your seats tight. Last week, I believe the market fell approximately 6%, and we're expecting the stocks to probably tumble a bit further this coming week. So any of you out there that's in the markets, try not to panic. Just make sure and have plenty of food and water and preparations just in case something really bad happens out there. But anyway, Chad, I'll get back to you. I was pretty fired up about this show tonight. This is going to be the second part of the Grand Deception. I don't know how much of the show you heard last week, but we had a guy on by the name of Wade, and he was talking about this so-called dark star or whatever that's coming in. I myself don't have any proof of that. However, I did see that Google Sky. I think you and I were talking about that video where it looked like there was something there. But I'm not real educated in the astronomy and all that stuff because it just never was my gig. My thing's always been about history. But as far as the Grand Deception goes, you have your ideas of what the grand deception is, and about these aliens and all that craziness.
Yeah, absolutely, Brendan. And actually, what I feel like I have to offer today is getting away from even opinions. I know it's something that me and you had talked about before, where it is I have complete confidence, and I'm in the realm of knowing, as opposed to even believing, that I know what is going to happen from the beginning of time to the end of time. And not only that, but I do know, at least biblically, as much information as it gives, what the Bible talks about deception, and not only what it talks about deception, but why it talks about deception. So I'm hoping we'll cover that today on the show.
Right. So as far as biblically, this goes way back in time. I have a few friends that I've talked to, and they say, well, the Sumerian text predates the Bible, and I always come back at them, well, it doesn't predate God though. That's how I go about it.
Yeah, and certainly, Brett, there's a lot of extra writings out there that certainly appears to be something that, for instance, the Book of Enoch. I've heard somebody talking about the Book of Enoch. Listen, there's no doubt about it. These books are out there. They attain information. But there's one thing that's extremely important for the listeners to understand about these extra books. They're not canonized. Now, we can get in a whole long debate about why the books of the Bible are canonized and why some aren't, why the Book of Judas isn't in there, and the Book of Mary and the Book of Enoch. But the reality is that God had preserved His Word for thousands of years, and we certainly have that particular proof, because if you follow correct biblical pattern in Scripture, you'll understand that. Look, what we have is not only a pattern, but it's a perfect pattern. It's an untouchable pattern. Everything from Genesis to Revelation is in perfect alignment with the message given to man by God and the revelation of Jesus Christ, even in the Old Testament. So, one thing that I'm hoping that we'll address today, and I'm sure there's probably a lot of listeners listening right now who completely disagree with me. Oh, what about this book and what about that book? Well, look, I don't even know much about those books, to be honest with you. I just trust in what is canonized and preserved for us for hundreds of years. It's in the Bible. It's over 60 books, 40 authors, and we certainly have a perfect alignment for eschatology, prophecy, the revelation of Jesus Christ, both seen in the Old Testament and the New Testament. And it certainly talks about what today's focus is on, deception. And that's kind of where I stand with that.
So where do you think it all began? Do you think it began with like Adam and Eve, or
that's a very good question. No, it didn't start with Adam and Eve. Apparently, Satan was created beforehand, and what we understand is that at one point in time there was an angel, a beautiful angel. As a matter of fact, the name Lucifer was the bearer of light. He was this beautiful angel, probably something he doesn't want people to know about. And he was also a musician. And Lucifer had this idea that he would be better than God. They apparently inherit the free will aspect in the sense that, well, this particular character, Lucifer, definitely considered himself to be higher than God. He says, I will be above the throne of God. I'm going to ascend like the Most High. And he wanted to do everything better than God. So, well, of course, his punishment and his curse, so to speak, was to be cast out of heaven and while unfortunately he ends up taking a third of the angels with him. Now, how much is a third of the angels? I have no idea, my friend. That could be millions and millions and millions. The Bible describes angels in a number-wise to be unnumberable. So we don't know how much a third of the angels is, number one. And number two, we understand that Satan, or at the time it was Lucifer, we understand that he had this motive, and the motive was to have so much pride that he wants to overthrow God in some way. And you see that throughout the Old Testament, and certainly we try to get to the New Testament, which is interesting you said that, because eschatology, and those listening to right now will understand that eschatology is the study of the end times. And when we're dealing with demonology, and we're talking about Satan, and we're talking about deception, well, one major factor that comes out of biblical evidence of this is eschatology. You can't escape it. Eschatology is the study of the end times, and certainly Satan has a big part of that. And we're going to see that through different characteristics of demons, what Satan decides is going to be the correct path, and certainly his plan to try to contradict God's plan. And that's what I have right now for Satan. He is a liar, the father of lies. He's a murderer from the beginning, the Bible says, and he wants nothing more than to destroy humanity. He certainly doesn't want to make himself out to be an angel of light. It wouldn't make him very intimidating. But he certainly is a deceptive being, and he's a leader, and he's trying to take these demons, the third of the angels that fell are called demons, and they are going to wreak havoc on the earth, under God's provision, of course. We'll learn that, too, through Scripture.
Do you think that's why... now, you know, I have my take on... I've read a lot of history as far as revolutions and stuff are concerned. I noticed one revolution always brings in an even worse leader. Do you think that's why all these revolutions are happening, and it's sweeping across over there in Africa and going towards the Middle East there? Do you think...
all these rebellion things that are happening, you mean?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it has everything to do with it. It's part of the plan. Look, demons and Satan, well, technically the demons, so I'll just say demons. Demons have an agenda. They have an agenda. Their agenda is to divide and conquer. Okay?
Oh, kind of like order out of chaos, like the Illuminati believe in?
Oh, yeah. There's a lot of that stuff going on. I would not doubt it. I talked to you quite a bit about the Illuminati. I don't know much about them, to be honest with you. I could tell you that based on their what their agenda is, and certainly what they're standing for, especially in the pop music culture, that is amazing. I'm hoping we can talk about that today.
Yeah, a lot of symbolism.
Tons of symbolism. But look where it's going. Look, it's going in two different directions. This is something that is mind-blowing for people to understand. Look, if you took everything together, what's the two biggest things that people argue about? Politics and religion, right?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
Why is religion so important to argue about? You know what I mean?
Yeah, people's belief systems and...
Yeah, people's belief systems. Well, there's a lot of them out there. So another thing that they're doing, biblically speaking, okay, is, well, this is just the truth. Their agenda is they're taking human hands and they're dabbling them in the occult, other religious beliefs, anything that you can imagine that gets you away from the truth, which is Jesus Christ, the Son of Man, who came here as God in the flesh and died a perfect life. He did not sin once. He died on a cross so that me and you could be saved one day, those who put their faith and their trust in him. That, my friend, is the whole deception.
Have you surfed around on YouTube much?
I go around YouTube sometimes, especially if I'm looking for information. Yeah. Anything? What in particular?
Well, there's this one channel who is supposed to be an alien. I think it calls. I think the name of the channel's Andromeda something, and people write this quote unquote alien questions about who we are and where we're going, and then this alien will give all the answers to us, about the Palladians and how the Palladians are coming to save us. Do you think the Palladians are God?
Well, they're the deceptive God. The Bible talks about there being multiple gods, small g gods.
Right.
And it also describes the multiple small g gods as being other religions, pagan rituals. People, there were people back even in the Old Testament described. There was, if you dig down a little bit of history and learn about some of the cultures, some religions believed that if they would make statues, not only bow down to statues, but kill their children on statues. The Mayans, the Aztecs and the Aztec Indians, they were big into sacrifices. Sacrificing things for their god. So the question is, who is their god? And that's another thing that we're going to talk about on the show, because part of that deception, Brett, is understanding what in the world all these different religions are about. And I'm hoping to shed some light on that.
Do you think this has anything to do with the Tower of Babel? The separation, and then all these people started doing their own religions, or what do you think? I mean, does that have anything to do with it?
That's a very good question. Well, remember what the Tower of Babel was built for? It was actually built to reach the heavens. And man conquered in religion by believing that they can obtain a higher power. They would become gods themselves. So, of course, the Tower of Babel, we understand the Tower of Babel, once God had cursed that place, he actually scattered all the people from there, and that's how we started getting all these different languages. They all started speaking different languages and get scattered around the earth. But that's a very good point. I'm glad you brought up the Tower of Babel because, well, that is really, in the Old Testament, is kind of the start of all these pagan religions and all these different rituals. And Satan obviously had a hand in all this. This is all about Satan. This is also about him giving man the idea in their head that they can conquer. You remember the story in Genesis of Cain and Abel?
Yeah.
I mean, we even have a picture there of a man becoming so angry with his sinful will that he was willing to kill his brother simply because he was jealous of him. Okay, so man from the very beginning has the understanding of in their own free spirit, so to speak, their own free will. God has provisions for that, but God also allows that to take place so he can show man, look, I am the true God. I will be glorified whether you want it to be or not. Satan, where Satan's involvement is in this, is he wants to accuse people to God. He wants to accuse the brethren in particular. He wants to show, constantly go to God and constantly ask if he could pick on people. The classic story of that would be Job. Job was blameless in the sight of God, yet God allowed Satan to test him and to see if Job would curse God to his face. And God only allowed it, okay, now this is very important, God only allowed it because he knew that Job would not curse him to his face. God, being all-knowing, understood that he was blameless, and he was upright. He was a good man in the sight of God. He was favored. Okay.
Well, I've got a question, and some of the people out there listening may have, the same kind of question. I'm sure there's a lot of people like on YouTube see a lot of videos on the Sumerians and the Sumerian text and the old pictures of people worshiping their gods. Now, I'm sure that they've seen something.
Oh yeah.
And these gods didn't look human.
No.
And a lot of people will argue to that point that they were aliens. And they think that the aliens are coming back. I think that they're probably fallen angels, but I don't know. But if you look at these photos with these people kneeling down in front of these gods, if these gods were to stand up, I think I brought this up to you, but I just want our listeners to know. Some of them look to be about 10 foot tall. Do you think those were the Nephilim, possibly?
In Genesis 6 you're talking about. Yeah. I think some people, it's difficult because the word Nephilim means to fall. Certainly they seemed large, and remember, they were giants in the land, okay? I wouldn't doubt it. But the argument comes in, now this is separate on my belief on whether I think that the deceptive, I'll call it the deceptive alien apparition. This is a little different because I still believe that men in history have not only written on their walls and written on scrolls what they've seen to be their God, to be unhuman-like, but that particular story of the Nephilim in Genesis 6, I don't know if I take that position of believing that the Nephilim were the fallen angels coming to the daughters of men. They procreated and created these giants, okay? I don't know, because some people take the view of they were the sons of Sept, they were men from other lands that came into. So I'm going to say it's not a very clear passage, to me anyway, to indicate whether or not these were fallen angels. And again, I want to reiterate, I still believe, okay, that fallen angels still, besides, even if you put Genesis 6 on the back burner for just a minute, I still believe that that the manifestation of what a fallen angel has the capability of doing is still possible, and we've seen it. We have evidence, documents of what people are describing to them as alien-like, giant-like, strange flesh, so to speak, okay? So besides Genesis 6, the kind of answer to your question is, yes, I believe that in the past, if you look at historical documents, you're seeing writings on the wall which looks to be strange spaceships and alien beings that they don't appear to be human. And certainly there are a lot of documents that describe these particular things. I absolutely believe 100% if there was any apparitions back in those times, it was absolutely demonic and it was absolutely visible. That it was not metaphor. It was not, they had nothing to do with allegory at all. It was literally, they saw these things and they worshipped them. I believe that. It's probably where a lot of paganism comes from. Paganism comes from demons. You got to look at all of the different ancient tribal and ancient civilization religions in the world where they literally burn their babies alive. That doesn't come from God. That God is nothing but good, you know. So what is the opposite of good here is evil. Where is the evil coming from? I believe the evil is coming from demonic activity, and that's certainly where what you're talking about, the documents there, Sumerian documents you said, right?
Yeah, the Sumerian text and their
Sumerian text.
Yes.
Oh, those are absolutely influenced by visions. Oh, you want to talk about visions? We could talk about Mormonism. I mean, that right there.
Right.
It really
right.
kind of comes down to one particular thing, and we can get to that in just a few minutes. But Was there anything else that I can talk about with the Sumerian documents?
No, you pretty much summed up the Sumerians.
Right.
You know, there's cultures all around the world that these people had to have seen something flying down from the sky and coming down to these people.
It's documented beyond documented. There's an excellent book out there, and I'll tell you, it's called Dimensions. It's written by a man by the name of Jacques Vallée. He's a Frenchman who came to the United States. He's a ufologist. He studied astronomy. And I'm going to talk about a little later what he kind of concluded. I'll even read some remarks in his book, Dimensions. But one thing that he just finds absolutely fascinating is these accounts didn't happen in 2009 or 2008 or even 1982. This has been happening for hundreds of years. Hundreds, documented. Documented, archaeologically speaking, it has been happening for hundreds of years.
Yeah. Now, I've also noticed, have you ever noticed in the Bible how they describe angels coming down to talk to them?
Right.
Now, they also come from the sky. They always call it, they was talking about like chariots of fire. Well, you know, could...
Yeah, and if you notice too, Brett, anytime that you get an encounter with an angel, you tend to hear the angel say one thing. You know what it is?
You know what?
Don't be afraid.
Oh, don't be afraid.
Yeah, don't be afraid. Fear not. You know, I bring you some good news here. Yeah, very fascinating study about angelic beings. They're again, they can bring themselves down to look like men. They appear to be large. There's different. We know there are different classifications of angels. Michael and Gabriel are archangels that appear to be very, very dominant. You know, they have that presence about them that causes you to bend down and hide your face, which is why a lot of the times when they appeared to men, they were afraid, plain and simple.
Well,
now,
could they?
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, could they be cruising around in spaceships too? You know, I mean, as well.
No. No, we aren't. And actually, as a matter of fact, in Daniel, we're told that the angel flew. It wasn't told that it flew in a craft of a spacecraft of any kind. We know that when Daniel was, I believe in chapter 9, was praying to God, you know, help us understand you better. And this is when he gained a very popular prophecy that's very important in today's eschatology or biblical eschatology. We understood that when the angel, and I'm going to quote this wrong, but I do want to say it's Gabriel. Gabriel came very fast. We know from by the time that Daniel started speaking his first line, the angel was already there, delivering a message from God. So wherever these angels come from, well, they obviously come from heaven, but where in space, in time, and dimensions they come in, we don't know. That's a mystery to us.
That's been a question of mine. Could heaven be in another dimension? Because when you were talking about that French guy that wrote the book Dimensions, you had said that they believed that demons were interdimensional or whatever. And, well, could heaven be that as well? Just in another dimension besides where hell is? I don't know.
Yeah, that's a very good question, but yeah, it certainly is. It's in such a place where only God can take you there. It's a place where we can't go with spaceships. Even if you believe out there are futuristic spaceships that could take you to the ends of the universe, you would still not be able to get to heaven. Heaven is protected by God. It's only for non-blemished people. I mean, it's kind of an interesting way to say that. I'm going to explain a little later what I mean by that. But heaven is exclusive to God's angels and to his people. And you can't get there by anything. We do know, based on the scriptures, what the evidence that we have about angelic beings, we do know it takes a little bit of time to get from heaven to earth. To us, it seems like a few seconds. Maybe to them it's quicker. We do know also that time is not relevant in heaven. So it's a completely other dimension altogether. There's no if, ands, or buts about it. Heaven is completely exclusive. It is profoundly different than any other dimension anywhere. And I'm talking about space, matter, time, light, speed of light, any of that stuff. And I'm not a smart guy. I don't know all the terminology. I just can tell you that in my own simple elementary school terms, it's in a dimension which humans cannot touch without God's provision and without God taking us there.
All right. Just let our guests know the call-in number here is 760-539-3244. Again, it's 760-539-3244. If any of you have any questions for Chad, we'll definitely take calls throughout the show, but we'll continue on to what's happening today. As far as people always have their video cameras out today, and you see people capturing stuff in the sky that is just unbelievable. I'm sure you've seen UFO footage.
I'll tell you the most fascinating that I saw, Brett, which was the Phoenix Lights, and I can tell you why I thought that was fascinating.
Okay, the Phoenix, is that the one that's shaped like a triangle out there in Arizona?
It was, it was in the valley there in Arizona. And some of you listening right now from Arizona, please call in and talk about it. It was fascinating. There was this footage. It looked like, I do believe that one person described it as the size of a football field. It must have been massive. And it was circular. It was floating in the sky, and all they saw were the outer rings or the outer lights, I'm thinking. At least that's what the camera captured that I saw. So I thought that was interesting, but there's something that happened more interesting. This will probably bleed into the next topic, Brett. When the governor of that particular state or the mayor of Phoenix, or whoever it was, went on national news to talk about these Phoenix Lights, he made a mockery of it. Completely made a mockery of the Phoenix Lights. As a matter of fact, any of you listening from Arizona right now would remember one of his spokespeople came out wearing an alien costume. I mean, they literally made a mockery of it. And what was fascinating was, after this happened, some months later, the governor or the mayor, whoever this gentleman is, of Phoenix, Arizona, came out of the closet, so to speak, and he said, you know what, I know I was supposed to say this because we didn't want to cause public panic, but what we saw was remarkable. It was real. It was in my backyard. I saw the whole thing, and this was broadcasted on like a 2020 episode. It's something very popular. It's on YouTube. You can watch it. And the other thing that he said that was very interesting was, what I saw, I don't have any idea what it is. And that just proves to you that these guys who are in the smaller government, maybe even the larger government, don't know what is going on. I don't know who's communicating with who out there. I just know that it's interesting that you can't escape one truth, that they're there. And one of the big deceptions that's happening right now, and I think everybody here is going to agree with me, is that people are choosing to ignore the fact that these things are even real. It's almost like they're saying, well, what you saw was just a figment of your imagination. It was just something you conjured up. Or they photoshopped something. I love that one. Yeah, they photoshopped something in their computer, and they let loose. It became a very popular website. Look, you can't escape the popularity of these things. You just can't.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it's all over the place. I myself, when I was 13 years old, was it was about 8:30 at night during the winter time. My friend asked me to come and spend the night. So I get about a block and a half down the street away from my house, and I felt like someone was watching me. I started looking around. There wasn't no one around. Then I looked right above me, probably about 100 yards above me, was this floating thing flying right above me. And then next thing you know, it just like went straight up and was gone.
Wow.
And
so you would think you had a good look of it because it was very close to you.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Kind of a triangular shape, and it was really strange, and I didn't know what to do. I just kind of looked, I was kind of dumbfounded. I wasn't even really scared. I was just like,
right.
What the heck was that? And I just went on to my friend's house and just kind of blew it off. But it was pretty amazing. So from then on, I was like, oh, UFOs are real, because I seen it.
Oh yeah. That's a fascinating story, and again, it brings up a very interesting point. Look, Brett, I can assume, and I'm sure the rest of these listeners right now can assume that you're just lying about that. But the truth is, if you believe it, you know it in your heart that what you saw was real, right?
Yeah.
So the question really is, okay, we're dealing with something. We don't have 100% of information, so really what we're dealing with is an unknown something, which is typically why it's called a UFO, because it's unknown. It's unidentified. It's completely, profoundly unidentified. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You have to raise yourself three questions. Could it be intelligent lights coming from the government? Maybe they're causing mass chaos, and they're taking this new technology which involves LED lights and lasers, and they're pointing it in the sky, and then they can kind of create a projected image of UFOs in the sky. That could be one thing. Okay?
Oh, like Project Bluebeam?
Yeah, I'm sure that's happened before, but you have to take in considered account for thousands of other accounts. Okay?
Right.
The other option of understanding what these things could be is they could be real UFOs, real aliens from real outer space, literally from other planets around the universe, the galaxies. We are dealing with other life forms that are extraterrestrial, and they are literally coming into our Earth, experiencing Earth for the first time, or hundreds of years, or whatever it is. That's option two. Or we could assume that these are extra-dimensional beings, which I would call demons, messing with our perception of what these things really are. Now, the reason why I say it like that is because, number one, I believe it to be truth, because this is the thing that we should talk about. I know, based on the characteristics of these apparitions, we haven't even talked about ghostly apparitions. We're just talking UFOs, for crying out loud.
Right.
I love Jacques' book, Dimensions, because one thing that he says in the book is this: why are we going to assume that these things are even coming from outer space? We have no evidence other than supposed messages. But we don't have any spaceships or telescopes that can look into their planet and see that these things are inner space, capable of building their own civilizations on other planets. Heck, we're still having a hard time trying to figure out where there are like Earths even around. And he concludes. Now, keep in mind, Dr. Jacques is not a Christian. He's not a Christian. He's just simply saying this. If you're a person out there who refuses to believe anything else about UFOs, believe this. We have no proof that what we're looking at are extraterrestrials from other planets, from other spaceships. We have no proof. We have no proof. Now, there supposedly have been man-made crafts. I'm sure they exist, but where does the intelligence come from? And even if there is somebody trying to help us out, these extraterrestrial beings helping us out, how do we know that these things didn't just manifest themselves into beings, give us the intelligence, which they have in the past? We were just talking about the Sumerian project, or the Sumerian text. Okay, well, how do you think these people ended up worshiping these things? How did they get knowledge of these different crafts and draw them on scrolls and walls? Obviously, because there was something there telling them about it, or they experienced it with their eyes. It still doesn't prove that these things come from other galaxies of outer space and other planets, that there's no proof of that. But rather what we have is we have evidence of characteristics. We have evidence of messages. We're going to get into that. That's actually very, very interesting.
So even in ancient Egypt, the pyramids were built. And even today, we would have a pretty rough time with all the tools and high-tech stuff we have, be able to build these things. Same with the Mayans. I'm sure you've seen this stuff, Chad.
Oh, yeah.
So do you think that's part of the grand deception? Do you think aliens / demons help these people build these things? Because I don't foresee a 1,000 guys pulling a block, and
right,
I don't see that.
It is remarkable. Yeah, the archaeology in the pyramids, the ancient ruins of the Aztecs and the Mayans is really remarkable. I mean, even the complicated astrology of the Mayans. Remember, the Mayans were astrologists. They were incredibly smart astrologists. How do they know so much about so much of the calendar build, about star movement, without actually having some knowledge?
Hey, Chad. Sorry to cut you off. You've got a caller calling in.
Oh, okay, great.
All right. Yeah,
hey,
caller.
Brett.
Oh, how you doing, Terry?
I'm doing good, buddy. How are you?
Great. Chad?
Hey, Chad, how are you?
Hey, Terry, how are you?
Good. Wanted to get onto your Sumerian text there. Brett and I talked about this a little bit, and then I had another question to ask you as far as the Bible goes.
Absolutely.
The Sumerian text, from a little bit of stuff that I know, is it's a 6,000-year-old text. They actually had a justice system, and basically, I guess that's what ours was founded from, to my knowledge of it. Had you heard anything like that?
Actually, to tell you the truth, I've never really heard about the Sumerian text. It doesn't surprise me if it has anything to do with religion or spiritual anything connected with characteristics of religion, then I understand.
No, it was actually a culture. I mean, it was a society. They just wrote down what...
I'm familiar with the Samaritans. Is that the same civilization, the Samaritans in Israel?
Correct. I guess just where you're from, how we'd say it. My bad. Okay.
No, that's fine. I just wasn't sure if we were talking about the same culture. Yes, I am familiar with the Samaritans, but I am not familiar
6,000 years ago.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Okay. My other question, though, is on the current events with, the Bible. I don't know. Do you know much about the King James Version?
I read New King James Version, but it's, you start asking me questions, where there are errors. I don't know where the conversation is going to go. No, I don't typically read King James. I read the New King James typically.
Okay. The reason I was asking, though, is have you done any research on King James himself?
I do know that he went through quite a trial. Very little about King James. I do understand that King James went through quite a trial trying to save the Bible. He was chased in some aspects, but other than that, I don't know much about him, no.
Okay. Brett, you'd looked him up a little bit yourself, didn't you?
Yeah, I've done a little bit of research.
What did you?
Well, from what I was reading, King James wasn't all that nice of a guy. And actually wanted to omit and add his own little features to the Bible.
Right.
I guess that's happened throughout history, though, with,
exactly.
different...
And Chad, that's my point as far as the Bible goes. I mean, do you know how old it is?
Oh, the text in itself is, well, we believe, I think it's somewhere between 4,000 and 5,000 years is the last text, but I'm not definite on that.
Okay.
It's kind of splitting hairs with me. I personally don't pay too much attention to how old the text is. I do know it's important to understand that, for instance, in the New Testament, that we have some writings and of some of the epistles that happened even before 70 AD, before Israel's temple fell. But you go back into the Old Testament, I do know Job is one of the oldest books written. We got the first 5 books of, starting in Genesis, that Moses, the Mosaic books, they're called.
Well, here's a little bit of an issue I'm having, Chad, too, is with the fact that man has got their hands on this. And there is a scripture in there that says, "Be ye deceived by no man." And that probably means the guy that wrote this book to try to maybe do some subtle manipulations of the herd.
Right. Well, you're challenging the authenticity of the Bible.
No, I'm actually not challenging it at all. I question anything written by man because of the men we deal with today.
Sure.
I grew up, going to church every Sunday, grew up on a farm. I mean, no, I'm not shaking. I am questioning. The Quran is 2,000 years old. Okay, the Sumerian text is still 6,000. Now we found a new place that's even 6,000 years older than the Sumerian location. Brett, you're familiar with that, those stones that we'd talked about that they'd moved from one mountain to the other that couldn't be moved by anything we have today?
Right. But I believe the Quran is only about 1,400 years old. But
oh, is it?
Yeah, 13 or 14. That was the Prophet Muhammad, right?
I do know the Quran was written a couple hundred years after Jesus' death.
Right.
I don't know exactly what the date is, but when Muhammad wandered around as a boy, he was a kind of a tent dweller. He went around different civilizations, which is why you have so much diversity and emotion in the Quran, because he learned from all these different civilizations.
But I guess, sorry, I kind of got off track about the Quran. I think I'll go back to Terry's point.
Sure. Yeah, because I'm just confused. That's all. I don't understand what the question is. You just wanted to know if I understood how old the scriptures are in itself.
Well, I mean, I guess how you feel about, like I was asking you about the King James version, and you're speaking of another version he has, but just about its effect on people. I mean, do you agree that it has been rewritten maybe to manipulate man?
Well, it's actually, there's one example I can give you. You're familiar with the Dead Sea Scrolls?
Yes, I am, a little bit.
Well, what's really fascinating, and I think that was right around 1948, they found the Dead Sea Scrolls in a cave. A young boy did. And, see, a lot of people questioned it. Even scholars who were supposedly Christian, they were really skeptical of the scriptures, whether or not it was authentic, whether or not that the Bible held true to the original text. And certainly we have words now that are in place of. So what I'll hear some of my favorite preachers talk about is this word's kind of a weak word to really describe what the Hebrew word is saying. It was translated to this word, but really it's even deeper than that. I've heard that before.
Right.
But here's the thing: when they found the Dead Sea Scrolls, they found the Book of Isaiah mostly. They found a lot of other segments of a lot of other books in the Bible. When they predated that, they dated that back exactly. I think Isaiah was either written 1000 BC or 500 BC. No, 700 BC. It was written 700 BC, and that's exactly what they actually predated it to. And when they read the scriptures, and it didn't matter what version they had, it was King James, New King James. It was exactly. Actually, I don't even think the New King James the New King James, I don't know if it existed even back then. I think that was kind of a fairly new version written later just to understand the King James. But what is interesting is they matched it word for word. So it really put a lot of confidence back into these supposed scholars. Again, they didn't have a whole lot of confidence that the Bible they were holding in their hands was the true, accurate, the correct written Word of God. And then, of course, I get a lot, how do you know that the Bible that you're reading and getting all your information from, how do you know that it's even reliable? I mean, it wasn't just King James. There's a lot of other versions. There's an international version. Some of the scribes could have messed up. I mean, how do you guys know that? And the question really is in the fruit of the Bible. That's how you answer that question. The fruit of the Bible.
Here's something interesting, Chad. I just read in the chat room. I didn't know if you knew that there's a chat room on here.
You know what? I don't think I can get it. I've actually been looking for it, and I don't see anybody in there.
Someone just wrote Profane Slave. This is really interesting. Karen Taylor, too, wrote King James was written in 1611. It was in translation, too. And then Profane Slave brought something really interesting up. It was written by a Freemason.
Well, look.
You know how I feel about that.
Oh,
yeah.
I know how you feel about Freemasons. Look, I'm on with you, Brett. I'm on with you, okay? I would not doubt it that there have been evil men, evil women in the world who've had some sort of responsibility to moving Christianity forward, okay? Forward. But you got to look at it this way, and I'm going to leave you with this example. And this might not be the best example, but this is how I feel, okay? The Bible, when God preserves His Word, He does it in the most unusual ways. For instance, here's a good story. You guys, I'm going to go back to the story of Moses. I use that one quite a bit. In the story of Moses, what kept happening to Pharaoh's heart? It kept getting harder and harder and harder. And eventually, God used that hardness to move the story forward. The Bible says He kept hardening his heart. Okay, why was He doing that? Well, eventually to move the story along, because there has to be a means to that end. For instance, the Hebrews eventually left Egypt, and they went on their way on their journey towards the Promised Land. What I'm saying is that God will use anybody that He feels fit, whether they're good or not. Look, if you look at Jesus's his line, his family line, can't think of the name right now, you'll see that He's related to a harlot, to pagans, to people who are just not nice people. Well, why would that happen? He's Jesus, and he should be related to kings and to great people and to prophets and to, no. His family line, okay, God, we're talking about God in flesh here, his family line that came through his mother Mary and his stepfather Joseph, because remember, Jesus was not born of a man. Jesus was born of God, okay, and Joseph was his stepfather. If you look at that line, at genealogy, that's the word I was looking for. You look at genealogy, look, I did a study on this. There's hardly any indication of anybody magnificent other than David the king. And you know who David did? He had Bathsheba's husband killed so he can take her for his wife. and then he was punished for that. I mean, it's just amazing to me. And now we're going back to the scriptures, the writings, okay? Look, even the most ruthless people in the world, people who wrote the Bible, moved it along forward, it wasn't written by these people. They just kind of continued the process, whether they rewrote it or what. And I don't know their lives. I don't know what happened to them. They could have been converted to Christ during the course of their life. Yes, they were a Freemason at one point, but maybe they weren't. I don't know. All I know is I don't measure the authenticity of the Bible simply by who pushed it along forward. I just trust that what the Bible we have has the truth in it that doesn't.
Okay, well, Doug, I just want you to know, Chad, this ain't an attack, man. I believe too, but I do look at things at all angles. I will not be deceived by no man.
Absolutely, yeah. No, I'm not angry. I'm just trying to explain myself. Sometimes I sound a little passionate. I'm not angry at all. I'm just trying to explain.
I'll get that way too before we're done, probably, won't I, Brett?
Yeah.
Absolutely. We haven't even gotten into messages. We haven't gotten into the characteristics of demons. There's so much information. It's just
there is so much. You know, the only thing I know is, man, it's time that I think also, Chad, and I hope you'll agree that it's time that people take a look at who they are. We can hide under any Bible we want to and still be an ugly person in our heart. So if you are, I believe, that.
Well, you're right, because the Bible talks about that. The Bible says that there's not one that understands God. We all have dark hearts. We're born in sin. We don't understand God. We don't love the things of God. As a matter of fact, when Jesus was talking to his own Jewish people, okay, he described them as being the devil, the father, the children of the devil, of the father.
Well, I'm saying that people on this earth today are you're either good or not, and you're either promoting the good kindness that's in you or you're not. I don't believe that your preachers today are actually doing that kind of a leading anymore. Sure.
That's very true. But that even addresses to us today. You know that you're absolutely right. Look, the good in us. You know what God describes the good in us as, outside of Jesus Christ. Even today, this applies to us. He describes it as gangrene rags, nasty, smelly, gangrene rags. And that came out of lepers. You know, leprosy was nasty. It was oozy, nasty, smelly stuff on people who lost the nerves in their skin. Look, there's nothing we can do on earth that will ever be good enough to earn God's favor. It can only come from one source, and that is Jesus Christ, by repenting and putting our faith in him. It's key.
Well, what about this? Isn't this his country? Didn't he give us this planet for us to take care of, and are we not allowing evil to overrun his world? So do you think he's going to be happy with us sitting here thinking because we know him that we're safe, we're going to heaven, when we've just let our whole world and our children go to pot?
Well,
when do we take responsibility?
We are. We definitely are. I would agree with you. We are very responsible. As a matter of fact, one really interesting thing is not only are we responsible for our own families, but this is something I told Brett. Okay, this is I'm going to give you some Bible verses in a minute. But look, when you die and you're facing God on Judgment Day, he's not going to compare you to some other guy. He's not going to say, well, Brett, you know, you were definitely a lot nicer than Hitler, you know. Look, you know, I would say that Brett is nicer than Hitler, although I haven't met him yet, so I can't really determine that.
He's shorter.
He's shorter. But I will tell you that most indefinitely, this is true 120 million %. None seek after God. None have a heart born for God. We are absolutely all, doesn't matter who we are, it could be the bus driver, the taxi cab driver, the local store clerk, a librarian, a mother, your father, your brothers and sisters, we all are guilty because of the sin we committed. You ever tell a lie before? Who hasn't told a lie? Well, that's right there in the law. You know what James 2:10 says? He says if you've broken one law, you've broken all the law. So when you
wait a minute, man. What about the tearing down of our world, of our society, our countries? This is what I mean.
That's all there, bro. It's all there. You're absolutely right. The tearing down of society, the pollution, the not taking care of our planet, man, it's all part of it. It's the rebellion that we have with God. And look, I think you guys are fantastic guys. There's no doubt about it. I told Brett, I said, he's one of the nicest guys I've ever talked to. And me and him have been talking back and forth, and we've been having a lot of interesting conversations. But look, we will never be good enough for the most holy God that exists. And it's the reason why demons are terrorizing us.
Hey,
it's
Chad.
Because of this one God. Yes.
Sorry, I just want to let you know you got another caller with another question.
Sure.
Terry, go ahead and stay on.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, caller.
This is Wade.
Caller?
I was just listening. Wade. Supernatural
Hi,
Fix
Wade.
by one. How you doing, man? I'm late. I just tuned in, but I just got in the house.
Chad, Wade is the guy I done the show with this last week on an alternative view of the Grand Deception.
Okay, great.
I'm sure you two could.
Can hear him a little better this week.
I don't know. I just want to get your take on it. This is the pastor, right?
I'm an associate pastor at our church. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I'm just tuning in, so I'm kind of late. I didn't even hear much, but I just wanted to hear your take on the whole situation.
I'll try not to get too passionate with you either.
Okay. Hey, Brett.
Yes.
How you doing over there, buddy?
Doing all right. Just
okay.
Just trying to get well,
And how you doing, Terry?
Doing good, Wade. Thanks.
Okay. All right. So I guess I'll just listen to the show.
Yeah, we can hear you better this week, man.
I don't know. For some strange reason, it's working now. So, but the last time I was on, it was just giving a whole bunch of problems.
Yes, it was horrible.
From Wade?
And I have the FiOS internet, so it should be working perfectly. So that was strange last time.
Well, anyway, yeah, I guess we'll get back to where we were at. I'm drawing blank now. Having a senior moment over here.
You're all right.
Well, we were just talking about. We talked about authenticity of the Bible, and we were actually. I'm having a senior moment too. What was the last thing we were just talking about before Wade called in?
Yeah. I think
judgment day or something like that.
The evil that's going on.
All right.
The world.
Yeah.
Can you guys hear me?
I couldn't agree with you guys more. I absolutely believe it's the result of man's fallen nature, their sinful nature, which is why we need a Savior. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. If we die in our sinful nature, it doesn't matter how good of a person you've been on earth, because according to God, He's unfortunately would send souls to eternal damnation, which we would consider hell. And I know that that's not very politically, or not a very, what would you call it, a very popular thing to say these days, but that's the truth. And I care about every listener listening right now. It's okay to go rape and kill and pillage of villages and that type of thing, and you're still going to get the same vote? Yeah, well, look, man, it's never good. It was never good in any part in history. And unfortunately, it's happened. But, again, why are these things even happening? Well, number one, the reason they're happening is because God has provision. He is allowing it to happen for His purpose and for His glory. I don't question it. He's God. I'm not. I just kind of go with it and say, look, I know what the Bible says. And really, you got to remember one thing. With any issue concerning hate or sin or deception of any factor, even if it's a person, okay, comes from one source. It comes from the heart. And Jesus many times described it as this way. He said, you heard it before, and this was in Matthew's Gospel, you heard it before, don't commit adultery. And everybody would agree, don't commit adultery. That's a bad thing to do. He says, but I say to you, whoever looks at a person and lusts after them commits adultery in their heart. What is he talking about? He's talking about the issue in a person's heart. And that's what I have to say about men, friends, that I would agree with you 100%. It's never okay to see the things that are happening in the world, but you got to remember it's a heart condition more than it is the actual act. It's a heart condition. That's all I got to say about it.
How much of the show did you hear last week, Chad?
I heard actually, I called right about almost to the end. I heard about the last 10 minutes. You had a lady called on and was talking about inner dimensions within yourself, that something about mind control. I think me and you had talked about it, Brett. I don't remember exactly what she was saying.
Okay.
I remember. Well, she was just. It was awesome to listen to her. She had put it well together.
Well, right. What was the exact talk? I mean, what was it about?
Oh God.
I don't know. She went pretty deep, Chad.
Yes, she did, man.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, we can hear.
Oh, okay. I thought I was off cue. She was basically saying that, these entities, these galactic, especially Galactic Federation. I don't know if you guys know about them, but they've been channeling information to all these mediums, saying that they're gonna, come help out humanity, and they're gonna give us these host of technologies and whatnot. But what she's saying is, we don't need any help.
Right.
I mean, we could take care of ourselves. That's what she's trying to say. So it's going to be a big, grand deception that they're going to be pulling on the human race. And we need to be careful of that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't know if I have any comments on that. I'm sure a lot of people have comments on why these things are...
I think they've already been giving us technology for quite a long time. The deal's already been made.
Well, yeah, and I believe it's demonic, completely. I mean, my position will always be that any information that we're getting at all is not coming from God. And you got to remember, this is all coming down to one point. This is where biblical eschatology comes in.
So Chad, you don't think that Andromeda, the alien on YouTube, is answering our questions?
I seriously doubt it. It could be demonic, but again, if it was demonic, it's only designed to do one thing. It's designed to take you away off the air, so to speak, put cold water on anything that grows you close to Jesus Christ. It's the grand deception. This whole thing funnels down to one really key thing. That's it. It's an agenda, and no, I'd have to say I disagree. Although, if it is demonic, it is demonic. But that's as far as it goes. Either, I don't know. I don't know if I have any comments about that. That's kind of strange to me. I've never even heard of that. You're talking about that thing you were telling me, Brett, right? Where you ask the alien a question and the alien answers back to you, correct?
Yes. Yeah, it's Andromeda. It's Captain Bill. There's a whole bunch of those videos and answers some technical questions.
Well, yeah, go ahead. Sorry, Wade.
My take on the Andromedans is the Andromedans are good guys. But what we got to realize is there's also good and bad. So not because the Andromedans are good guys, all of them are. There's some good Andromedans and some bad ones too. Just like how you have the Pleiadians.
Good, bad ones too, huh?
Yeah. There's always good and bad, So, I'm talking to some Andromedans right now, and they're good guys. And I'm from the Andromedan lineage, so that's part of my, but not in this dimension though. I'm talking fifth dimensional, which is in heaven.
And this is what I've been talking to you about, Chad. You know how people have been talking to individuals or, I don't know, aliens or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
I wouldn't really call them aliens. They're the fallen angels. I mean, the ones on this level of reality, though. Because anything in this reality could be a deception. That's why I don't really, But we're, right at the gateway of heaven right now, so we got to be patient, I'd say we're going to be safe and sound when we cross that gateway. But as for now, anything could be a deception. So I'm just sitting on the fence and waiting. And I urge everybody to do the same. As long as we're in this reality, this current one, you could be deceived. So, but above the fourth, there's no evil, what we term evil, which is in the fifth dimension. So,
what's your take on this, Chad?
I was having kind of a hard time understanding him. I don't know if it's my phone or it just seems very echoey. What? Give me the kind of the. If one of you, maybe you, Brett, could tell me what exactly he said, kind of in a nutshell.
Well, he's saying that these aliens in our reality are actually the deceivers.
The majority of them. Not all of them. The majority.
Okay. So he doesn't. You don't believe it's Wade, right? The guy speaking is Wade.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Wait. But Wade, what would indicate to you? Let me ask you a question. What would give you indication that because you're saying about 85% of them are demonic and deceptive beings, let's say, but the others are what? What would you classify them as?
The others are kind of like a watchman. They're just waiting to intervene. But they're not going to intervene until we step up. We have to show that we want to change humanity. But these other guys, like the Galactic Federation, and I hate to call names, but I gotta warn people now because they're coming. So they're going to give us a whole bunch of technology. They're going to cure all these diseases. Guess who created all the diseases? Well, they did. AIDS, malaria, gonorrhea. All these diseases were created by them. So when they show up now, they could be, appear to be our savior.
Well, they better need to know how to get radiation out of the air, too.
So, yeah, I'm warning a lot of people. There's a grand deception coming. Prepare yourselves.
Well,
a lot of people are going to take you like candy. They'll perform miracles.
Hey, Wade, I want to hear what Chad's thoughts on this.
Okay.
Well, I half agree with you, Wade. I do believe that they are all deceptive. Now we're talking specifically UFO and alien apparitions here. Okay. Look.
Yeah.
There's nothing coming right now that is going to indicate to anybody in the very end, I'm talking when everything is revealed, there's not going to be a single alien that is coming to save anybody. What it is they're going to create an illusion that they have answers, and it's not so much them, it's him. Okay, we're in biblical eschatology. We're waiting for one called the Antichrist. You probably heard him before, and what he'll have the capability to do, according to Revelation, if you read through even the New Testament, Old Testament, you'll see the characteristics of the Antichrist. He will possess great power. He's actually going to be able to, it appears, to take a bullet, come back. He'll be able to show signs and wonders. He's going to cause peace in Israel and its neighbors. That is something that we'll probably be seeing something soon, and although I'm not a date setter, but certainly the signs are all around us. But as far as an invasion, look, I think that this is my personal opinion based on all the characteristics of eschatology. and the characteristics of what demons are capable of doing, I think that what people could be seeing in the tribulation is major signs and wonders. I think that UFO apparitions are going to be vivid, clear. All the questions will supposedly be answered, although that is a deception. People will have peace with it. They'll be excited about it, and that's my personal. But that's not really personal. That's what I believe out of the scriptures anyway. It's just that the Bible doesn't say, well, the alien beings are going to come down and they're going to take over the earth in this invasion. Where do you get your? I'm just curious, Wade. Where do you get the information from that there's some kind of galactic attack on Earth?
Wade?
Hello?
Oh, I had it on mute, guys. Sorry. I do research on the internet, and where I get my main information is I'm talking to Andromedan contactee right now.
You're in contact with aliens right now?
The good guys. I don't like to call them aliens though. They're our ancestors.
Okay.
I mean, we knew them before we came to Earth.
Hey, okay, right. So I'm actually very curious to talk to you.
When I say good guys, I'm not talking about from the third dimensional or fourth dimensional reality. I'm talking about the fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, and above, up to 12 dimensions. I mean, on dimension 9, there's no form though. It's formlessness. It's just pure thought and energy. So, but in the fifth, there is form. But below the fifth, there's evil, and so that's the problem. And then in the third also, in the third dimension. So below the fifth is evil, but above that it cannot exist, because that's why it's known as heaven, and that's where the Creator dwells.
Okay, Chad, what do you think?
Well, actually, Brett, I was going to tell you. Do you guys want to hear a pretty good ghost story? Because Wade here kind of reminded me of, and this kind of semi-relates, Wade. I'm not ignoring you in any way. I just don't know how to answer that question, to be honest with you. I've never heard of, it's new to me to hear somebody say they're in communications with these beings. If you are, I would say be very careful that and I can tell you 100% that it doesn't come from God. It doesn't come from outer space, my friend, or demons. So even the good guys, even these supposed...
Are you in touch with God or Jesus?
What was that now?
Are you in touch with God?
I'm in touch with, of course, I'm one of God's children. I'm absolutely 100% in touch with God and Jesus.
Well, I'm going to have to respect Wade's feelings on what he says, because, I mean, he believes that, you know what I mean?
Right. Well, let me share something with you guys. Let me tell you the reason why I'm saying that, okay? And that's why we live in the good old America, United States of America here, because we do have the freedom to believe in what we want and have freedom of speech. It's what our military men and women have died for on the battlefield. So I'm very thankful for that. But let me share something with you. Are you guys familiar with the Miriam movement? Miriam?
Actually, no, I'm not.
No.
Let me tell you what it is, okay? In the Catholic religion, okay, this is what they believe, okay? They believe, and this has gotten to the Vatican. The Catholics believe that there have been apparitions of Mary, and not only the Virgin Mary. You guys are familiar with Virgin Mary.
Yeah.
But I want to share something with you, and I wrote some stuff down. And by the way, I wanted to just a real quick shout out here, Brett, if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
Anything that I'm talking about, I have a friend here local in Rochester who produces these films. What I'm about to tell you is about the Miriam movement. It's a real ghost story. It's real apparitions of Mary, and I'm going to tell you why it's important in a minute, biblically speaking. But if anybody wants any of these DVDs, give Brett or just type in the text box your information privately, and I'll make sure I get your info, and I'll send out DVDs to you. They'll be free for you. I won't charge you for them. They're just there to make sure the message gets out. But I gathered this actually from the research that my friend did for this particular film that he produced, and it's called Messages from Heaven. And what the Marian movement is real apparitions that have happened, some caught on tape, some not, but they're very popular within the Catholic religion. And what the claims are is thousands of people at a time have seen Mary, a young woman, bright as the sun, up in the clouds or up in the sky, giving them physically speaking, messages.
Oh, are you talking about back in early 1900s, like 1915 or something?
Right. Well, actually, what's interesting is you actually have three individuals from Venezuela. Can't even say it. But in 1917, there were three young people who were in touch by Mary, and they were just simple sheepers. But basically, let me tell you some of the messages that came out of this, because this is documented. This is not.
Okay.
This isn't anything that anybody made up. This is not a ghost story. These are real documents of real apparitions in Egypt, Venezuela, Mexico, you name it, in America. All these things have happened. Listen to this. Our Lady of, I can't even pronounce that, Medjugorje. Okay, that's somewhere around the world. It's a church, Catholic church. Listen to what she says, okay? And I'm just giving you one line. You can get the movie and do the research yourself. But it says, I am the matrix between you and God. Just soak that in for a minute. I am the mediator between you and God. Another one, Mary spoke to a Father Gabi, who is also recorded in the Vatican. This is a popular one. She says, have confidence of the intercession by your heavenly mother. By your heavenly mother, okay? Just keep that in mind for a minute, okay? Have confidence in the intercession and the mediation between your heavenly mother. There's another one. This one's from Batavia, Messages from Our Lady of Batavia, Venezuela. Salvation of nations, bringing peace, and I've come to love to bring love to the world. I've come to bring salvation to nations, bring peace to nations, and to bring love to the world.
So do you think it was a deception?
Well, listen, I'm going to get through just two more lines, and I'm going to tell you what I think about this. Here's another thing this ghostly apparition said, this Mary figure. She will save the world. She is the ark of salvation. She says, I am the ark of peace, and that you must go through me for salvation. Why am I telling you this? This kind of goes hand in hand with what people believe that aliens, whether they're in communication to them or not. Okay? Look, you're dealing with two major things. You're dealing with an apparition, a real apparition, and feel free, guys, anybody listening to the radio, if you're Catholic and you heard about this, please call. I have a DVD for you, but please give me your opinion. But the reason I'm saying that is if you go to 1 Timothy 2:5, it says that Jesus is the only mediator between God and man. How about this one? Jesus makes intercession for the saints. That's in Hebrews 7. Okay? Look, I can go on and on and on, but what we're dealing with is a major contradiction.
Interesting.
And what you have here is very interesting. You have a real apparition of a ghostly figure of Mary. She's speaking to thousands. There was one actually in 2009, Ray in Egypt, giving the same kind of messages. They all seem to be different, but kind of leading in the same direction. She's saying, I'm the one who suffered for your sins. I'm the one who mediates between God and man. No, that's not true. Jesus is the only one who can do that because his accomplished work on the cross. People listening right now who are Christians would agree to that. So why is that so important? It's so important because it's exactly what the grand deception is.
Wow.
The grand deception is these demons are moving in. They're creating religion. They're creating messages, and they're creating what I like to call the postmodern world.
Hey, Chad.
Yeah.
Looks like you got another person with a question here. Let me get them on.
Absolutely.
Caller.
Hey.
Hey,
Hi,
you
Dave.
got a question? Oh, go ahead.
My name is Jeff. Hey, Chad, Brett, Wade, Terry, how you guys doing?
Good. How you doing,
Good.
Jeff?
Good to meet
I'm
you.
doing
Not
super
too
good.
bad. I was calling. I was led here by Poor Man's News on YouTube. I was just checking you guys' show out. Had a couple questions. Are you familiar with the Venus Project or the Zeitgeist movement? A lot of people said that there's a lot of similarities between this and the Agenda 21. You know,
Absolutely. I've done a lot of research into it. The Venus Project.
No, say that one more time. I'm learning all these new things with you guys on the air. What is it that you're listening to out there?
Well, the Venus Project or the Zeitgeist movement are two different things that were kind of intertwined for a while. It's a belief of it's an idea like where we rely more on machinery and robotics to perform most of the labor. And instead of a focus on money, like there's no money in this type of an economy idea, the focus is on like efficient utilization of the Earth's resources.
Absolutely.
And that if we're not careful, we'll deplete them, and the world kind of turns against us, so to speak. Is that kind of where it ends?
Well, it's kind of like replacing an idea to replace capitalism, to get money out of the equation for us to all live in a society without any money at all.
Right. And what means though? I mean, what are the specifics? I do know that in the end times there'll be a mark given to by the Antichrist. If you don't possess the mark, then you're a traitor. And surprisingly, there are laboratories right now who could put in a microchip, literally a micro. Looks like it almost attaches to the skin. It's like so small, but it contains so much information. And what they found was it could be placed in your right hand and forehead.
Even more than that, Chad. Have you seen the electronic tattoo?
Yeah, the barcodes.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I would not doubt that all that technology is coming out. That certainly should take a big part, I believe, in the end.
So what do we do, Chad? If you don't mind me asking, I mean, is religious people usually just bow down and get their heads chopped off, don't they?
Well,
not this guy.
Yeah. That's what's going to happen. You know, during this Great Tribulation period, which is the last 3.5 years. The Antichrist.
We're God's children, aren't we? We're also His warriors, aren't we?
Well, right. Well, God's children. Now, this is going to cause obviously a controversy. I know me and Brett have talked about this several times, but I believe that God's children won't even get that far. I believe we'll be raptured out of the church. And I've been asked several times, show me some evidence of that, that we're going to be raptured.
Yeah, you and I kind of went back and forth on that, didn't we?
Right. And the truth is that there's no word specifically rapture. There's words to be caught up, raptural. There's also a talking about being caught up in a blink, a twinkle of an eye. Jesus gives an analogy of women grinding at the mill. One will be left, one will stay. So there are indications of that. But to answer your question, I know I'm kind of going too long. Yes, God's people will. I believe there will be people saved in the tribulation.
Hello?
Hello?
Yeah, it wasn't me.
I think
my children.
I think Jeff
got in
jumped
trouble
off.
for being on the phone.
Yeah, that or it sounded like a party in the background. I don't know.
Brett, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Wait.
Oh man, I've been trying to Okay, is Sean still there?
sorry, Wade. I've been muting you because there seems to be like a lot of background noise when you're talking and stuff. So when someone else starts talking, that's the reason why I put you on mute.
Oh. Okay. I wanted to get some understanding here on what I was trying to, portray in my other radio show. The key here is focus within ourselves, not without. In other words, we have to go back to the internal source, because remember, all of us are connected to source, which is the creator, the divine creator. But the moment we step outside of ourselves, that's where a host of problems come in. That's where we could get deceived. So it's important to stay within oneself. Jesus himself said that. In order to get to heaven, you have to go within. He did say that. But, religion always, once religion came in, they tried to twist everything. You have to obey all these commandments. I mean, people got to understand here, the Creator doesn't have any laws. The only law he has is love. Just one law, love. That's it. He loves everybody. So, they could... Go ahead.
There's nothing good in this way, though. Nothing good enough that can come within to advance us to God. I mean, and I don't know if this is where you were getting at or not. Again, it's so hard to hear you, and I apologize. I really want to listen to everything you have to say. But the thing I would tell you is this. I mean, I think Jesus gave a great example. He said, "Those who desire to come after me, let them deny themselves." Okay, now that comes from within. All of our theological thinking, all our religious thinking, the things we've seen, the things we experience, all kind of come down to our own personal theology, so to speak. But that's the one thing that Jesus absolutely did not want to happen for his people. He's saying, deny yourself, take up your cross, and follow after him. Now, the cross at that time when Jesus was speaking existed in the Roman culture. It was a torture device. So that sounds kind of silly to hear Jesus say, in order for you to come after me, you got to pick up your torture device. It'll be like us carrying around an electric chair, Hey, those who want to come after me, pick up your electric chair and come after me. That's what he's saying. So to them it was strange, but at the same time they kind of understood that, look, I got to die, actually. There's nothing good within me. I got to die, sort of, and be reborn. The only thing that can help me be reborn is the washing blood of Jesus Christ that cleanses me of all unrighteousness. So, and I want to say one other thing, Brett, too. I know we're getting down to the wire here. And this is for the last caller that just called in too. This is exactly what's out there. This is why I'm so passionate about this. You got literally, 15 different Christian denominations. You have hundreds of religions. You got hundreds of gods. So how do we, at what point in time do we say, in a postmodern world, what is truth here? How do we know? How do I distinguish truth? Is anybody asking themselves that? How do I distinguish truth? Well, God addresses that. He says to walk by faith and not by sight. Okay? Look, I have a Bible in my hand that is not contradictory. As a matter of fact, it tells me even radical things like fulfilled prophecies. Jesus filled over 300 prophecies. Nobody really talks about that. And when a math professor wanted to challenge that authority, he said, let's look at the mathematical possibility that Jesus fulfilling even 6 of these prophecies. You know what he came up with? He came up with, it would be like standing you in the state of Texas, filling the state of Texas up with dollar coins all the way up to your waist, marking one with the next, blindfolding you, and having you bend down one time to pick up the right coin. That's the possibility of Jesus fulfilling even 6 out of his 300 prophecies. So what we have here is we have a supernatural book that's telling us, look, These things are contradictory. To a Catholic, this appearance of Mary, this apparition, is not deceptive. As a matter of fact, she's loving, she's caring, she gives answers, and they're seeing her. Again, I'm quoting God here when he says, "Do not walk by faith. Can't walk by sight. You got to walk by faith in the Word of God." It's not what we see with our eyes. It's
Chad, if you don't mind, the China calendar, would those be prophecies too, just like the Mayans? I mean, they got a lot of things correct. Wouldn't you agree?
I believe there's a lot of things that are going to take place, such as the 2012 area. I think that there could be something, only because I believe, and I have to, the next time that I talk to you guys, whether it's on the radio or not, I want to quote I think it's in Leviticus, I'm going to say. I wish my uncle would call in. He knows this. But there's a verse that says that even these demonic prophecies, some will appear to come to pass. But again, it's under God's provisions. It's for God's purpose. It's to test the saints. And it's also for the demons. It's to deceive them, people. But yes, I believe that you're going to see signs and wonders. There's no doubt about it. You're going to see a lot of interesting buildings, archaeology that doesn't appear to be human. It can't be explained by human intelligence. It can only come from some other means. That's what I'm talking about. Now, you got this apparition of Mary here. I'll bet you millions of people right now around the world would believe with their whole heart that apparition of Mary is the real Mary. I mean, you can't get any more specific than calling yourself Mary, the mother of Jesus, at a Catholic church. You got to dig into Catholic doctrine. They're huge in the Virgin Mary. A lot of mistakes. Personally, they keep calling her a virgin when she clearly had more children. But that's what I'm talking about. All these things, all your callers calling and talking about these different religions and intelligence. It all funnels down to the same thing.
Including aliens giving your answers on YouTube?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I believe it, Brett. Me and you talk a lot. We talk about the Illuminati, the government. Hey, pay attention to Israel. Look
oh, man.
This is huge. I mean, what we're looking at today, folks. Let me get you excited about something. What we're looking at today has never been seen. And let's just pick a group of years together. Let's say the last 30 years. Never has anybody ever seen what we're experiencing today. And I know that probably sounds radical. You know, you got guys like Harold Camping, who said, "Oh, this is a different time, folks. This is definitely it." Now,
right, but Chad,
$500
Hey, Chad, you're right. So I think I'm going to sell my cars, and I'm going on the road with that dude.
I hope you wouldn't. Look,
you know how right?
Yeah. Well, you know how you could tell a false prophet from a real prophet? Well, first of all, prophets don't exist anymore. They served a purpose, and the word prophecy or prophesy just means speaking the truth, proclaiming. Okay, so I prophesy the name of Jesus Christ all the time. But if you're talking about real prophets that God used, John the Baptist was the last. And as a matter of fact, what Harold Camping did was absolutely contrary to what the Bible says. That's how I could tell.
He actually made me pretty angry.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And I talk about most stuff that I talk about on YouTube is the financial collapse and stuff like that, and who the bad guys are in the world. So we're touching on subjects that are usually totally different from what I usually touch on. But one thing's for sure, I can guarantee this: alien spaceships, even if they show up in the sky, I'll probably laugh. But I can guarantee this, anyone that's in the market right now, get ready for a bumpy ride this week.
Oh, gosh. Run.
What do you got?
Oh, it's disaster. I don't know if you knew this, Chad. I think I might have told you. I was a Series 7 stockbroker for a couple years.
Good.
I was pretty young, but I've always kept up with the markets, and things are not looking good at all.
Wow. You're talking about world market, or just United States?
The world.
World, yeah.
Entire world.
Definitely doesn't appear to be good.
Right. But getting back to your message, sorry, I didn't mean to ramble on that.
It's all part of it, man. I told you before, Brett, anything you have to say, I guarantee you has something to do with biblical demonology or eschatology or anything like that. I sound like I'm repeating myself, but man, please, if you're listening out there, please listen to me for a minute. Look, there's only so many truths. What is truth? Pontius Pilate said to Jesus. Look, Jesus is the truth. This thing that we're talking about, this is all truth. And it has to come from somewhere. I know the popular argument is, well, where does morality come from? That's a good question. Where does morality come from? But this is part of a grand deception. Because I can say morality comes from human beings, right? If I don't believe in God, that there's a God in existence, there's not a system in place that God wants us to know about. Okay? The problem with that is if you took a topic, let's say like abortion, and you say, well, you took a poll, you got every single American to vote on this, I would guarantee you that we're probably split right down the middle when it comes to whether or not we think abortion is right or wrong. Guarantee it. Okay? Then where does morality come from in that instance? Even if it was 80%, 20%, even if it was 60-40, okay? Look, you're still dealing with an issue here. You got to answer one real basic question, listener, please. If morality came from human beings, if this whole thing was just a man-made thing, you would have to answer one really key question. If a topic like abortion, which would probably be split right down the middle, were morality chosen by human beings, then which side of it is wrong? And which side of us are right? Well, I think they're right. I think I'm right. Well, dude, how do you know that? How do you know lying is bad? How do you know that stealing is bad? How do you know that hate is bad? It's because God gives us something very specific. And if you talk to any scientist, they'll plainly admit we have a conscience. And the word conscience in the Greek means con, with, and in science means knowledge. So the word conscience actually literally means with knowledge. We have knowledge that murdering somebody is wrong. And I'm not talking about obeying the military. If anybody's listening out there and part of the military, man, I just salute you. You know, I'm just so thankful that we have an awesome America here. Okay, and we have people that go out and they fight for our nation. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the issues of the heart here. When Jesus addressed it, he says, if you hate somebody without a cause, you're committing murder in your heart. What's the difference between me and the guy sitting in jail right now? Well, the guy sitting in jail who committed murder committed it. But I've done it too. And really there's no difference. The difference is what's in the world. So when I'm rambling, but the reason I'm rambling is for this reason. Look, there's only one truth. It comes from the Bible. It comes from God. He's the one who gave us the Ten Commandments. He's the one who tells us what's right and wrong. You can't argue that. Otherwise, you're in some other tangent of some other religion, of some other cult, of some other intelligent talk about anything. Anything. Pick it. Man, what is there, right? 1,000 different things we could seriously believe in this world. 2,000 different ways to manifest our religion. 1 million different analogies, 1 million different illustrations of how we live our life, when all we have to do is pick up, dust off the Bible, read it, it's right there, and guess what? There's a message from God himself. He says, believe in me. If you don't believe in me, and don't put your faith and trust in him, then he has no choice but to punish those sins and to send your soul into an eternal hell, which there is no break, there's no spring break, there's no bathroom break. And I'm pleading with you, listener, please. This is serious. I told Brett the other day, I said, what do you think of this statement? Eternity is such a long time to be wrong, isn't it? Isn't it? Brett, am I just kind of speaking here?
Yeah. You're right. I mean, that's a long time.
It's a long time to be wrong. So if there is an eternity out there, if you believe there are aliens flying around, why not believe that there's an eternal hell and that there's an eternal heaven? And I'll tell you the reason why people don't believe it. They don't want to be held accountable. They don't want to be held accountable for the sins they've committed in the world. They know deep down in their heart that what they did was wrong. And we live in a world, especially
you
in
said
America,
it didn't matter what you did on this planet.
It certainly does matter what you do on this planet. It matters what you do with Jesus Christ.
Didn't you say earlier it didn't matter?
In what context? What was I talking about?
Well, I believe we were still talking about going to heaven. In the Bible, there were guys that's done some pretty sinful things, murder and everything else, right? There's not all saints that wrote them books, right?
You're probably talking about specifically when I was saying that God uses the wicked to move forward his plan. Absolutely. He does do that. But see, those people are still held accountable for what they do. Even though that God used it because of the wickedness, doesn't mean that they're not held accountable. The Bible's pretty clear. Let's just finish that. Yeah.
Can I interject? I mean, I agree with you on a lot of stuff you're saying, but people got to understand here, the source, which is the creator, does not punish. Everything that's happening on the earth right now, playing out, is a learning experience. And, I mean, you're right about, it's his plan. It is his plan. You're absolutely right about that. But you got to understand that the true creator does not punish. It's the imposter God that's about to come here that's doing that. As I said, the Bible was manipulated. The only truth you're going to ever find is go within yourself, and you'll know. So anything out here could be a deception. I'm not saying the whole Bible is corrupt. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying it's been manipulated. It's been tampered with.
Correct.
But what cannot be tampered with is your soul, and your soul is connected to Source, which is the Creator. That's the only truth.
But Creator means so many things to so many people. When I say Creator, my soul is connected to a greater being or a higher power. That's a very popular thing to say, but it's still not the truth. Because I can say, well, my religion, and I'll just make something up, I'll call it the Chad Spaghetti Monster Club. I can say, that by the way, that's hilarious, but that actually is a real religion out there. I don't know if it's a joke or what, but it's actually called the Flying Spaghetti Monster religion. And they really believe that they illustrated a big ball of spaghetti with two eyes as meatballs.
There's a difference. I don't like to use the word believe, because to get you to believe in something is a deception. I know it's a knowing within your spirit that it's absolute truth, it's absolute fact. Right. It's a knowing within me that I am part of the Creator. I don't.
That's what I was saying too. Is about you go to the person, and you got to, you're either a good person or you're a bad person. You either build on one or the other, and it's inside of yourself who you are.
Yeah, I get what you guys are saying. It's just that it's contrary, to what the Bible says. Now the debate kind of falls into, well, how much faith do I have in the Bible and what it says is true? Really the truth is this: we are held accountable as people. Look, if every religion in the world was right, why are there so many different ways that you have to be saved? And if you ask these religions, and this is something that society does not do, they'll say, well, look you got the Buddhists, the Muslims, they all believe in this God, and it all goes to the same road. But let me tell you something. If you ask those individuals, how do I go to heaven, and what would happen if I didn't follow your religion, you know what they tell me? You're doomed. You're doomed. So the question is, how can all
I think you said that to us just a minute ago, that we're doomed to hell forever, for eternity, and that's a long time. So that kind of scared me.
That is the only truth. That's what I'm trying to say. They can't all be right. I can't say as a Christian, well, Jesus is the only way to heaven, and if you don't go to Jesus, you're going to hell, which is true. But and then on the other hand, I turn my back to that. I go to a Muslim and I say, Mr. Muslim, how do you go to heaven? Oh, really? So if I do this, I can go to God? Okay, I'll do that too. No, because Muslims, the Islam religion, okay, does not believe that Jesus Christ is even God. They believe he was a prophet. So
no, they believe in the Mahdi.
Yeah, the Mahdi. The Mahdi parallels our eschatology. That's another interesting topic. Yeah, but what I'm trying to say here is, everybody kind of wants to gather up their own views and what they think right and wrong is. I'm here to tell you, I personally do not want to give you any opinion on what right or wrong is. It's not even up to me. I can give you all kinds of opinions if you really want to, but the truth is, I have the Bible. I have God to tell me what right.
The Bible teaches good, doesn't it? The Bible teaches good.
But God is not only good, but he's also a just God. He's not only love, but he's a judger. He's going to come back to judge. And people don't hit that. They think of God from the Bible as a kind of a guy with big white fluffy beard, and he's kind of floating on clouds. No, he is a God of wrath. He's a God of wrath, and he's going to come back with a vengeance if you do not. He's going to look at you, and he's going to say, "All right, let me look here. Is this person cleansed with the blood of Jesus Christ or not? I don't care what religion you belong to. It doesn't matter. I will fight this to the very end of my life, okay? I don't believe there are any other religions out there that are true. I think religion was designed to deceive people into thinking they can earn their way to heaven. And if you look at every single religion out there, that's exactly what you have. You have lots of people trying to earn their way to heaven. Let me just end. I'm going to get off the air because it looks like you only have a few minutes left, Brett.
Okay.
But I wanted to end with this. I wanted to end with this real quick. Well, first of all, if you want to know more about me and about the show I produce, it's called Reality Under Fire. That's Reality Under Fire. You can find it on YouTube. This month we're going to be taping the paranormal. So it's going to be kind of a debate show. That's kind of what the premise is. You can certainly get a hold of me. And again, if you want any DVDs, I have DVDs for you of these different ones my friend produced. Let me leave you with this, guys. I looked up the differences between demon possession and alien abductions. You interested in that?
Yeah, sure.
This is very interesting. Demon possessions, a person seems to be non-functional. Would you agree to that?
Yeah.
Okay, these are just characteristics. I don't have anything specific here. Incapable of leading ordinary lives. People that seem to have multiple demon possessions don't seem to have these normal lives anymore.
Right.
Here's a fourth thing. Can be caused pain or afflicted some kind of pain. We've seen that before.
Uh-huh.
How about this one? How about cause physical ailments? To become sick. And you see that through the scriptures. Now listen to alien abductions. This is alien abductions. People have no control. They feel helpless. They're taken by will. Same thing, and that's one thing I didn't write down for demon possession. Taken by will. They seem to go into a dream state, just like in a demon possession. We could talk about the soul and the conscience and things like that. People experience lights in the sky, missing time, causes physical pain or spots on people. And that's all done with purpose, by the way. It's the alien abduction. And Wade's probably listening right now. He probably would agree if he's doing any ufology. He understands demon possession or alien abductions. It has a lot of similar characteristics. I just wanted to say that because there's a lot of similarities between demon possessions and alien abductions. That's really all I got.
So let me leave you guys with this. everything that's about to play out, these beings are contracted by God to come here and do this to us. As I said, it's a learning experience, and it's time for graduation, basically. Who gets to go to heaven and who doesn't. But
hey, Chad, I just wanted to say it was nice talking to you, and Wade, it was nice talking to you, too. I know, Brett, you're running out of time, aren't you, my friend?
Yeah, and I appreciate you guys calling in tonight.
Oh, yeah, thank you, Brett. Yeah, I enjoyed my talk. I'm hoping to be a guest back on the show, possibly, or I'm certainly going to be talking to you again, Brett.
Oh, yeah, I'll be in contact with you, and I'll be in contact with the other guys as well. That's for sure.
Yeah, Chad, personal, I hope everything was just everybody's opinion. You're right. We just got to stay strong in our beliefs.
Yeah, that's what it's all about.
Well, thanks a lot, guys.
Thank you.
I'll probably be having another show here this next week. I'll make sure and let you guys know several days prior to what the show will be about, and it won't be a last-minute thing. But I want to thank all you guys for coming to the show, and I'll be talking to you later.
Hope you get to feeling better, man.
Thanks.
All right. Bye.
Bye.